age 24, of Barrie, Ontario, 1 count of sexual assault. Carter Hart, age 25, of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 1 count of sexual assault. Callan Foote, age 25, of Denver, Colorado, 1 count of sexual assault. Dylan Dubé, age 25, of Calgary, Alberta, 1 count of sexual assault. These individuals have surrendered to the London Police Service and were released on undertakings, with their first court appearance occurring this morning. This investigation has been a lengthy and complex process. I want to recognize and acknowledge the victim for her courage and her incredible strength throughout. I know there are questions regarding the initial investigation and the findings of the 2022 review. It is important to understand that as the Chief of Police, while I am committed to transparency and accountability, I must also ensure that I do not compromise the ongoing legal process. There is a place and there is a time for me to provide those answers, and that time is not now. Therefore, I cannot discuss details that are now part of the case before the courts. I assure you that I will provide more information once these legal proceedings allow. The presumption of innocence until proven guilty is a cornerstone of our justice system, and it applies to the 5 accused. But right now, our organization is focused on supporting the victim and upholding the integrity of the criminal trial process. Today's charges are a critical step as we move forward. As Chief of the London Police Service, I assure you of our commitment to investigating all allegations of sexual violence with a trauma-informed and victim-centered approach. I have full confidence in our sexual assault and child abuse section, led by Detective Sergeant Catherine Dan, who will provide more details shortly. But before I introduce Detective Sergeant Dan, I want to extend, on behalf of the London Police Service, my sincerest apology to the victim, to her family, for the amount of time that it has taken to reach this point. As a police officer working in this space for many, many years, I can tell you that this is a difficult situation for all victims and survivors of sexual violence. I will now introduce Detective Sergeant Catherine Dan to provide further details of this investigation.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. I'm here to provide some background on this incident, but caution that I am limited in what I can share as this matter is now before the courts. On June 18, 2018, the accused in this matter were in London to celebrate their gold medal win with their teammates at a Hockey Canada event. When the event was over, members of the team continued the celebration and some attended Jack's, a bar in downtown London. This is where they met the victim. In the early morning hours of June 19, 2018, the victim attended the Delta London Armories Hotel with one of the accused. The other 4 accused attended the same hotel, and this is where the offense took place. Later that morning, our service received a phone call from an individual related to the victim in this matter, seeking advice regarding a sexual assault. As a result of the information disclosed, the following day, the report was assigned to the Sexual Assault and Child Abuse section, the caller was contacted for further information, and the investigation commenced. The victim provided a statement to police within days of the initial report. In February of 2019, the investigation was concluded and no charges were laid. In July of 2022, our service elected to review the 2018 investigation and asked me to lead the review. Having been assigned to the Sexual Assault and Child Abuse section in September of 2020, I had not been involved in the original investigation and had no knowledge of it. Upon review of the occurrence, it was determined that there were additional steps that could be taken to advance the investigation. As a result, the investigation was reopened and a team of investigators were assigned. I would like to make it clear that the victim in this matter has fully participated in this investigation from the time it was initially reported to police until today. When the case was reopened in 2022, our team explored investigative opportunities in addition to the 2018 investigation. Those leads were followed, additional witnesses were spoken to, and we collected more evidence. I can confirm that some of this evidence was not available when the investigation concluded in 2019. This is one investigation, not two. The evidence that was collected in 2018 and 2019 was used in combination with newly gathered evidence to form reasonable and probable grounds to charge these 5 individuals with sexual assault. I understand it has taken a long time to reach this conclusion, and I thank the victim for her patience. Police services are obligated to follow required processes to gain access to certain evidence, and these processes can take many months. Police must take this time to ensure the investigation is thorough and to ensure that we have obtained all the evidence that is available to us. We would like to thank those who have cooperated with the investigation and also encourage anyone who may have information about this incident to contact the London Police Service. There may be witnesses who were at Jack's or the Delta London Armories Hotel that same evening. If you have information related to this investigation, I urge you to contact our police service. We acknowledge that there is always room for improvement in the response to sexual violence. We know that most sexual assaults are not reported to the police. The London Police Service is committed to improving our response to sexual violence. We demonstrate this commitment by listening to our community partners who share their thoughts and input about our investigations. We research what other communities are doing to create new initiatives that improve our service to victims and survivors in London. We regularly review our internal procedure related to sexual offenses to ensure a consistent, trauma-informed, and victim-centric approach. I understand that today's announcement may be upsetting or re-traumatizing for other victims and survivors of sexual assault. I encourage those impacted today to seek support from family, friends, or your local community support resources. I will now read a statement from Karen Bellemere, the legal representative for EM. It takes an incredible amount of courage for any survivor of sexual assault to report to the police and participate in the criminal justice system. That is certainly true for EM. Yet, she remains committed to see this process through. We simply ask that the media and others respect her privacy and her dignity as this matter proceeds through the court process. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Trung, and thank you, Detective Sergeant Dan. We'll now take questions. If you would just line up behind one of the 2 microphones on the left or the right side, and just a reminder, state your full name, the media outlet that you're with, as well as who the question is directed towards. You will be allotted 1 follow-up question if needed, and after that, we ask that you please fall to the back of the line, and should time permit, you may be offered the opportunity to ask another question. And we'll start over here.
Good afternoon. My question's for the chief. Is this on? Can you hear me, Chief?
Yes, I can.
My name's Rick Westhead. I work with TSN in Toronto. And my question is, did the London Police review of this case in the summer of 2022 determine that the initial investigation met the standards of your department?
I can tell you that as I stated earlier today, that I can't speak about those intricate details from 2018 and what the review brought forward, as it is one investigation, it's not two investigations, and everyone involved in the 2018 investigation are potentially witnesses to the current prosecution, including those individuals that have now taken over the investigation.
Okay, quick follow. I spoke earlier today with an official with the London Abused Women's Centre, and I learned that every month they're receiving 60 new clients. And I was told that already before this case that the trust with the London Police has been frayed and is fragile. And I wonder how you can go about trying to rebuild trust with victims, alleged victims out there who look at a case like this where it's taken almost 6 years to get to this point and wonder whether anything tangible will come of their complaint.
It's a very good question, sir. And I will tell you that police services are constantly striving to do the best that they can do. Anybody in leadership is striving to make sure that those who depend on them, such as the community, such as the membership, are supported. This is no different. We as a police service are doing our best. We will continue to do our best to make sure that we become better and better every day. This is a widespread problem. And when I say a widespread problem, it's community trust in police. Leaders, organizations have to work very hard every day to build trust in the community. Community safety is a shared responsibility. It is not just the responsibility of the police. We know that, and we know we cannot make communities safe without our community partners, such as the ones we have in this city. And I can tell you, priority for me since I've arrived, everybody in the organization knows this. Community trust, strengthening and building community trust is a big priority for us. And we're going to work towards building the trust and repairing some relationships that need further development.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move over to this side of the room. Go ahead.
Robin Doolittle from the Globe and Mail, and this is for Detective Dan. Mike McLeod is charged with being a party to a sexual offense. Can you describe why that charge was laid?
Yeah, so the one charge he was laid with is in relation to his own actions, and the party to the offense charge is in relation to aiding someone else in committing the offense.
So what is the behavior that would have involved aiding?
I can't disclose any details about that because the case is before the courts.
Okay.
I'm sorry, one follow-up question if you would like to move just
Yep.
to the end.
I have a follow-up question now. In your statement, you mentioned that some of the evidence in the initial investigation wasn't available. Do you mean available or uncovered at the time?
I don't think I can answer that question. I'm sorry. I know this is going to be frustrating for everyone. Everyone wants answers, but I cannot compromise the investigation by providing specific details.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to move over to this side of the room.
Thank you. For the chief, Mark Douglas from City News. Chief, you're apologizing to the victim for the time it took to lay the charge. You're not apologizing for the course of the investigation, and you're saying this morning it's 2 investigations, not 1. Did London Police make a mistake in 2019 in not laying a charge? And can you explain to us specifically why or why not?
So actually, it's 1 investigation, not 2. And I'm apologizing to the victim and to her family because it's taken this long. This should not take this long. It shouldn't take years and years for us, to arrive to the outcome of today. All victims of sexual violence in many forms, they should not have to wait this long.
Thank you. Follow-up for Detective Sergeant Dan, if I may, please. Detective Sergeant, could you obviously cannot reveal the specific details of the evidence of what happened in the hotel room. I'm wondering, can you describe the spirit, the mood in the room? Was this, what was going on there? Was this a case of toxic masculinity just run amok? What was the situation there?
I can't answer that question, I'm sorry. It's related to the evidence in the case.
Okay, thank you. We'll move over to the left side of the room.
Hi, question for the chief. My name is Adrian Gobriel with CTV National News. Chief, Sergeant Dan has said that some of the evidence wasn't collected back in 2018, that steps could have been taken. Why haven't London Police handed over this investigation to another police force? And why do you believe the public should have any faith in London Police to carry out this investigation?
Well, I'll tell you that the investigation was reviewed in 2022. And because of that review, we are here today. There's absolutely no need to turn the investigation over to any police service. I have the utmost confidence in this team, in this organization, and Detective Sergeant Dan. I can tell you that the unit, the sexual assault and child abuse section that we have today, currently, are the most dedicated investigators, the most trained investigators, and the most compassionate investigators we have. And I am confident in the leadership of Detective Sergeant Catherine Dan.
I'll have a question for Detective Sergeant Dan. In previous police filings, there is a belief that there was more than just these 5 individuals allegedly in the room. Are other players from the 2018 Hockey Canada team cooperating with your investigation? And do you believe that there could be charges of other individuals as a result of your investigation?
Thank you for the question. We have laid charges for all the charges that we have reasonable grounds for, and we've had varying levels of participation in the investigation, but I won't provide specifics about who cooperated and who didn't.
Hi, Shauna Hunt with City News. So, I mean, would you consider this a failure? Was this woman failed by London Police? The first investigation went nowhere. You said that she did cooperate the entire time. And I think Detective Dan, at one point you said that came to light that other steps could have been taken. Was this a failure on behalf of London Police?
I can confirm with you that the victim in this case was fully cooperative from the start. And I will also tell you that, again, these questions, you are rightfully asking these questions. But for me to answer any of these details will truly compromise the ongoing prosecution. It is one investigation. So I appreciate that these are questions that you want to know, and I think you deserve to know. But right now, I can't answer that. I will answer that at the appropriate time, though.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. What is it that triggered a review of this case? Once it was closed, why in 2022 was there a decision made to review it? Was it public pressure from the Hockey Canada civil suit? Was it new evidence that came to light?
So I can tell you that I was not the chief at that time. Chief Steve Williams, now retired, was the chief, and he made the right decision to order a review. It was a decision that I fully support. I have not spoken to him directly as to why he ordered it, but it is my understanding that information came to light as a result of the community, and part of what we do is listen to the community.
And we'll move over to the side over here.
Hi, question for the Detective Sergeant. Jamie Strachan with CBC. Detective Sergeant, as a fresh set of eyes brought in to review this, what went wrong with that initial investigation, and can you outline some of the additional steps that you alluded to that should have been taken?
Again, as the chief already mentioned, this is one investigation. We cannot provide details about the 2018 investigation because it may compromise our case that's currently before the courts.
Question for the chief. Chief, obviously, the London police have faced a lot of criticism about how they've handled this, and there's obviously a tremendous amount of interest here because of the accused. Do you think your police force would have handled this case any differently had it not been 5 hockey players celebrating a gold medal?
You know, again, I can't speak to that, those details that you're asking for. What I can tell you is that we are moving forward as a police service, just like all police services, to try and make sure that we investigate sexual violence better and better each and every day. And I can tell you that our commitment remains strong and will continue every day. We will strive to be better and better, and we should.
Hi there, Chief. This question is for you. You have said that the apology was made in large part because of the length of time that it took in order for these charges to be laid, but also that the victim was fully cooperative right from the start. So right now, there is certainly an ask for clarity. So why did it take this long?
Yeah, again, and I appreciate that question. I really do. But I have to tell you, I cannot answer why. Why it took so long will form part of the proceedings. It's completely inappropriate for me to talk about those details at this time. I wish I could tell you, but it's inappropriate for me to tell you at this time. There will be a time where I'll be able to speak about the matter, but I cannot jeopardize the ongoing case.
You've also said that it's important to reestablish connections within the community to regain trust. To that end, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'll answer that question for you. As you know, we are constantly working with our Violence Against Women Advocate Case Review Program. So they come into the police station, they review cases where we don't lay charges, they provide their thoughts and input about our investigations, and we listen to them. We also look at what other communities are doing, as I said, and see if we can start some new initiatives in London to improve the service we provide to our community. And we've implemented several projects over the last few years, one being the Victim Support Initiative, which is a process we have in place to make sure victims are fully informed about the investigative process at the start of the investigation, and also that they're connected with support right away when they want to report to police. We recently partnered to open the Beacon House Child and Youth Advocacy Center, which supports child victims of sexual assault. And last year, we also launched the Speak Out tool, which is an anonymous reporting application for survivors of sexual violence. So over the last few years, I would say we have taken many steps to improve our response to sexual violence, and we continue to do so.
Elaine Shercliffe, Full Press Hockey. This question is for both of you, whoever can answer it. I heard the list you just laid out, but as we all know, this has become a problem within hockey. Have you guys reached out to youth hockey organizations, junior organizations, even at the pro level, to go in and discuss consent with them and how all of that would work when it comes to sexual assault?
I can answer that question. So during this investigation, of course, we're not investigating the culture as a whole. We're investigating what happened in that hotel room. But I will confirm that my team does deliver presentations to the community, and that does include hockey teams and affiliated teams.
Okay, and then a follow-up.
Sure.
You had said right now you have charges laid out, but is it possible that as the investigation is going on, there will be more charges laid?
I can't answer that. Like I said, we have laid all the charges that we have reasonable grounds for.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Paola Larigio with the Canadian Press. This is for whoever wants to answer. So I'm hoping for a clarification, was the new evidence that came up after 2022 the deciding factor in laying the charges, or was that something that was available with the evidence that was there in 2018?
Again, I'm sorry, we can't answer any questions about the evidence that we collected, and providing any specifics about that, I fear would jeopardize the case.
Then can you speak to the period of time that was given to the accused to turn themselves in, and whether you have any concerns that that might lead to a perception of preferential treatment?
Yeah, it's not abnormal for us to arrange a time for people to turn themselves in to the police service. So we had contact with the lawyers representing the players or the subjects, and we set aside a date that would work for both of us to turn themselves in, and that is not an abnormal process.
Is the 2 weeks a normal period of time?
It's case specific, so I can't say if that's normal or abnormal. Like we make arrangements as we can for both sides.
Catherine Brulotte de Radio-Canada. My question is for...
Before you ask, I just want to address two questions that have been asked, and they're, about what we're doing and how the police plan to move forward. I will take this minute to share with you that what we're looking at is not, for us, Hockey Canada, this is an investigation where there's a victim of sexual assault. So there's a widespread prevalence of violence towards women worldwide. And one contributing factor and one complex thing that we need to address is us as a society and community, because the sexualization of young women and girls in today's society is contributing to the violence against women. And part of it, and I'm not blaming the media, but I do want to highlight that how we portray young women and girls on TV, in music videos, how we write about them, magazine shoots, all that contributes to sexual violence and the normalization of what we're seeing. So I just want to share that with you, and I want you to understand that to me, this is an investigation that involves a victim. I'm not a hockey player. I don't know nothing about hockey. This is a sexual assault investigation. Thanks. You can continue with your question.
Yeah, my question is directly related to what you just said. As this press conference shows, and my colleagues pointed out, there's a very important public interest in this specific sexual assault investigation. But is your service considering or undergoing any other comprehensive reviews of sexual assault investigations that were concluded without any charge in a similar time frame?
I can say, as I previously mentioned, we do have the Violence Against Women Advocate Case Review Committee who comes in to our police station and reviews our investigations where charges are not laid. And I would say it's not abnormal for us to reopen a case. If someone contacts our police service and shares that they had a negative experience during the reporting process or that there was an issue with the conclusion of the investigation, then absolutely we will take a second look.
Can you comment on any specific case that may be under review right now?
No, I can't.
Thank you.
Chief Trung, Craig Needles with Blackburn Media. You mentioned just now things in the media contributing to problems with the way women and girls are perceived and the way sexual violence is perceived. Wouldn't it be fair to say that taking nearly 6 years to lay a sexual assault charge in a high-profile case would also contribute to sexual violence against women?
Yeah, that's a fair question. It's not something, as the chief of police, that I'm happy about, that it took 6 years. I truly am not happy about this whatsoever. I don't think any of our members are happy about this. And that is why I apologized to the victim and to her family. But I can assure you, I am confident that this will not happen again.
And a follow-up for either you or Detective Sergeant Dan. According to EM's statement of claim, there were 8 players in the hotel room that night. And I know that you've been asked this question, but I haven't heard it ruled out at all. Could there be more charges here? Is that not happening, or is that still a possibility?
Again, I will just say we've laid out the charges that we have reasonable grounds for at this time.
So you can't say that there will or will not be any charges? You can't say
I'm
there
not
won't
going to
be?
comment on that.
Hi, Heather Wright, CTV News. I just wanted to ask a question about the party to the offense charge. Some of the lawyers that we've spoken to say that that might indicate that there were two occurrences that night. Is that the case, or does this second charge relate to what happened in that room when all of the accused were present?
This investigation involves one incident and one victim.
Okay, and further, you mentioned the 5 accused were released with undertakings. Can you speak to what any of those undertakings might be?
I can't provide any specifics. Undertakings are used when we feel confident that the conditions we can place on the accused will protect the victim and the witnesses in this matter.
So you won't give any of those conditions?
No.
Dale Carruthers from the London Free Press. My question is for Detective Sergeant Dan. You mentioned the Victim Advocate Case Review Committee. Did they review the case after the initial investigation?
No, they did not.
And is there a reason why?
I believe the chief is going to follow up with that conversation. I know that is a question that people have, if the case review committee is going to have access to the 2018 investigation. Unfortunately, now that that investigation is before the courts, they are unable to look at it, but I believe the option is going to be available to them when the case concludes in court.
But sorry, Sindasha, for the original investigation, though, did they look at that after it was closed without charges?
No, they did not.
Okay, thank you.
This question is for the Chief, Omar Sechina from CTV. Chief, I've heard you underscore several times during this news conference that you don't want to compromise the court case. You've directly apologized to the victim and the victim's family. But in a more general sense, given how much attention there is on this case, the question has been asked and it will be asked continually in a general sense. Can you tell us today who bears the responsibility for that delay?
Listen, that's a great question, and it's a question that everybody wants to know. And right now, I cannot answer that question. It will truly compromise the curtain process. And like I said, there's a time and there's a place. I am a chief that holds accountability and transparency as one of the most important values that I have. That time is not right now. I cannot share details of what you want answered right now.
You've talked about wanting to move forward. Part of moving forward includes a certain amount of self-reflection. And I'm wondering, as the leader of your police service, what do you wish your police service could have done differently in this case?
Well, again, I'm going to be, you know, I can't speak about the past, but what I can speak about is the future. And what I can tell you is that I'm very confident in Detective Sergeant Catherine Dan and our membership, truly confident. I'm also very optimistic about working closer with the community, working with our partners, and training is a big piece of it, making sure our officers have the training, have the current training, and we really integrate working with our community.
So there's nothing you could have done differently?
I can't answer those questions about the 2018 initial investigation.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Okay,
So I'll go over here next.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ian Mendes with The Athletic, and I assume maybe this is the question for the chief. I know you can't answer a lot of questions specifically, but maybe even broadly speaking, could you give us some context? How often or how normal is it for a case to be, I guess, essentially closed and then reopened?
You know, from a general perspective, if you're talking about criminal offenses, it's not uncommon for investigations to be closed pending further information or evidence that arises. That's not uncommon.
And my other question would be, in December of 2017, the London Police Department said that they would adopt the Philadelphia model moving forward to handling sexual assault cases. I'm just wondering if you can confirm that the Philadelphia model was used at any point during this investigation?
So the Philadelphia model relates to the Violence Against Women Advocate Case Review Program. So yes, we did implement that, but as previously asked, the Case Review Committee did not review this case in 2019.
Thank you.
Okay, and our last question over here.
My question's for Detective Sergeant Dan. Beatrice Faisman, CP24. You said you took over in July 2022. That's still a year and a half ago, Detective Sergeant. What took so long? Why did it take a year and a half to bring forward these charges?
Again, we can't provide specific details about what happened over the last year and a half or so, because that forms the evidence of the case.
Chief, my next question is for you. The initial investigators that were part of this investigative team, are they still on this case? And if not, where are they assigned, in what capacity?
Well, I can tell you they're not part of this investigative team as we speak.
Chief, take more questions, please.
There's a lot more questions that need answers. Okay. We'll take 3 more questions.
For the Josh Clipper with the Canadian Press, for the Detective Sergeant, did police identify and interview the Uber driver who drove the alleged victim home the night of June 18th, 19th, 2018?
Again, that is part of the evidence of the case, and I cannot comment on that.
And with 2 other investigations with Hockey Canada and the NHL, what were the challenges? Were there challenges with so many investigations happening at the same time?
Yes, I would say that did add complexity to the case, but I'm not going to go into further detail about it.
Detective, I wondered if you could explain, you said that in 2019 that this case was not reviewed by the independent committee. Why wasn't it reviewed at that time?
I can't provide an answer to that at this time. I wasn't in the chair I'm in back then, so I can't provide an answer. I wouldn't want to answer and give you inaccurate information.
And the second question I had, I'm going to replace, because I just got a direct message from a woman who's watching this, who says that she came to London Police years ago with a complaint about sexual assault, and her complaint was found unfounded. In a situation like that, can someone come back and re-report?
I wouldn't call it a re-report, but as I said, if someone brings forward a concern about how their investigation was handled, they can either contact us or they can contact the Violence Against Women Case Review Program as well. There's many members that are in our community partners that they could reach out to.
Okay, thanks.
And ask that the committee review it.
Hi, Émilie Goujon-Pelletier, Le Droit. My question is also about the committee, the Violence Against Women Advocate Case Review Committee. I understand that you can't comment as to why it wasn't submitted to this committee after the first investigation closed, but do you intend to look into why? Because I'm hearing that it's LPS that's supposed to make that decision to give every single case that hasn't had a charge.
Yeah, that conversation I think will occur with the committee. And as I said, that we can't present the case to them at this time.
Thank you.
So the last 3 that are behind the microphones will take all of your questions. I'm just going to move over to this side first.
Thank you. John Worrell with the Associated Press. This is for the chief. What is your level of concern? Because we know you can't speak to what happened in the 2018 investigation, but what is your level of concern that what happened with the 2018 investigation will come up in trial and perhaps further reflect poorly on the police service from that time?
Well, I can answer that. I'm not concerned.
Okay.
As the investigation unfolds or the prosecution unfolds, these details that you're asking will come out. And as they come out, as the chief of this police service, I hold myself to account of anything that comes out of our investigations. So we have a responsibility to the community. We have a responsibility to victims, and that includes positive actions, negative actions. We hold ourselves to full account.
Thank you.
Hi, Calvi Leon with the Toronto Star. So we know that Hockey Canada settled a lawsuit just a few years ago, and that led to public outrage. Did you find that in your investigation, you were learning new things in 2022 because Hockey Canada was more forthright?
Again, I can't answer that question because the case is before the courts.
Just a follow-up. Did you work with Hockey Canada or with NHL in their own investigations, or did you learn anything from those that may have factored in your investigation?
I know everybody wants answers, but again, I cannot answer those questions.
Okay, and our final question today.
Costa Drosos, XFM News. Sergeant Dan, you mentioned that the LPS was in contact with the accused players' lawyers. Have you also been in contact with the NHL? And if so, what is the consensus at this point?
I have not spoken to anyone from the NHL over the last several months.
Interfere with the original investigation?
The question period is now complete. We would like to thank everybody for coming out today. This concludes our press conference. Thank you.